So that is what the meta name viewport tells. HTML also gives us the ability to work with tables and forms. So tables and forms make up the major component of any web page. So starting from basic sites to big sites like Microsoft or Facebook, they utilize form elements and table elements in their daily page activities. Okay, so first let's see how the table tag works, and then we will move to the form tag. In HTML, a table is denoted with the table tag. We open the table and close table tag. So the table tag in turn has three different parts, but we will usually write the table body. So, but in theory, the table tag has three parts, which is the table head, or denoted as T head, then table body, then the table foot. Okay. So this is the standard depiction that we will be using. So in case we do not use the table foot and the table head, what's going to happen is the page is going to automatically generate that. Okay. So when you look at this page, inside the body and the table, we will be having the table head and the body automatically generating. So inside the table body, we will be having elements called as TH, which denotes the header of which is called as a table row. Then we have TD. So this is called as table data. Okay. So these TH and TD is usually put inside a TR element. Okay. So TR, this denotes a row. I'll close this row. Now let me add the headers. So TH ID and TH name. Okay, so this will basically give me a header. So the difference between TH and the element TD is the boldness of the image. So in TH elements, we will be having the font sizes boldened. Okay, 1. So let's look at the demonstration. And then TD is equal to dense. So when we reload the page, so if you observe that TH will have their fonts boldened, and whereas the TDs will have their fonts in the normal way. Okay, so this is a major difference between the TH and TR. I'm sorry, TD. So when we need to add the borders for the table, what we will do is we will usually utilize the style tag to add the borders for the table. Okay, so firstly, we will see the keyword table, comma, we'll choose the table header and the table body, table data, and we will tell border is equal to one pixel solid black. So what this will do is this will add a solid background. So if you see this is the standard border. Okay, so if you do not want this and you want only one single line, and then that's called as a collapsed border. Okay, so in order to do that, what we will do is we will tell border collapse is equal to collapse. So once this is set, so the double integer, the double borders will go and we'll have a single border. Okay, so this is called as a collapsed border. All right, so once we have done that, so if we need to add spacings in between the table, so which we will obviously will have to do. So in that case, what we will do is we will add another keyword from CSS called as padding is equal to 10 pixels. This will automatically add the spaces in between the elements. Okay. And when it comes to aligning the elements inside the text, so we usually have th and we have td. So let me create a simple class, align left. So now I will tell align the elements to the left side, and let me th, and when you observe this, all the elements will be aligned to the left, and this is small, so you may not be able to see the difference. So when we are creating a much more different table, let's say when we are creating something like a directory, so at that point in time we have two attributes for the table row called as table column span and row span. So let's see how they work. So similar to the previous one, so here a little differences. I'll be adding the width for the table. So style again is an attribute which is available for all the HTML elements. So I will set the width over here as 100% width, just in case for good measure. And then I'll be adding the table header. And I will tell the table header name is supposed to be ID, and then the table data would be 1, and wrap it around a table row. And similarly, I will add another table row, and in between the table row I'll add my table head, and here what I will do is I'll call something called as row span and I'll set it as 2. Okay. So and for this, what I will do is I will tell first name, yeah, and okay, let me just change this to name. So again, inside table data, what I will do is add td Jacob and close this row. And again, in another td, I will tell Dennis. So what this will basically do is it will print the name in two different rows. The ID will be on one row and the name will be on two different rows. So this is what the row span will do. And much similar to row span, we also have something called as column span, which its function is to combine two different columns. So when we look at the column span, let's just remove this. So table row, table header. So let me call this as name, and let me add another table header. So here, what I'll do is I'll say two columns. So with the help of column span is equal to 2. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add parents name. Okay. And if you observe in the next tr that I draw, the first column, which is name, will be singular. So td Dennis is singular, and the other two, see what happens. So when you look at this, it will be bifurcated into two separate columns. Okay. So now let's look at the form tags. Basically, we'll be denoting the form inside the form tag. So in form tags, we have various input elements. So what are the input elements that we have? We have input. So input. So again, in input, input has an attribute called as input type. Okay, so input type is equal to text. So input type text is used for text box or inputting as a box, as an input box. So your name. So this will give us a text box with the ID as name and the placeholder as enter your name. So this is basically a text box. And then we have input type is equal to checkbox is equal to this is a checkbox. So we have the input box over here and the followed by input type is equal to checkbox right after that. So we will add a BR tag to print it one after another. Okay, so then we have input type is equal to date. So ID is equal to date. So we'll be having the date input type popping up in the form of a drop down button along with the animation for it. So next, we also have type is equal to email, ID is equal to email, placeholder, enter your email. Yeah, so In HTML5, we have the option to say the into email. So what this basically does is, when we are utilizing the HTML5 value, say like the required and put type is equal to tell, telephone number ID is equal to phone, placeholder to enter your phone number, and this is required when we submit something inside the form. And so that point in time, what will happen is these two inputs that we are passing will be validated because we are having a required keyword over here. So what this will tell is, it will tell the browser to check if these email and telephone is already existing, or if it is empty. If it is empty, it will prompt the user to add a value for email or add a telephone number for tel. Okay, so then we have input type is equal to submit, value is equal to submit. So this is the text box, sorry, the button that we will be using for submitting the elements. Yes. So on submit, the browser will automatically validate for the user entered inputs. Okay, and when you're using the input type email, what is going to happen is the browser will also check for the format. So let's say now in place of email, I entered date.